Metal Jesus, I'm back again to talk about one of my favorite consoles to collect for, and that is the original Xbox. Now, if you ask a bunch of collectors that have really large collections, and you ask them where did they find the time and the money and the energy to get those collections, a lot of times they will tell you that they buy those games when they're at their sort of lowest point, when they're the cheapest, when most other collectors are kind of ignoring it. Well, that time is now, in my opinion, for the original Xbox. And surprisingly, there are a bunch of great games for that console that didn't come out on any others. And so this video is going to be about hidden gems on the original Xbox. Let's take a look. So the first game I want to talk about is, well, a lot of people's favorite on the original Xbox, and it's kind of a hidden gem. It's called Otogi, Myth of Demons. This was released by Sega, who incidentally released a bunch of great games on the original Xbox. We're going to talk about several of them in this video. In this game, you are a demon hunter, and it plays similar to probably Shinobi or also Devil May Cry. It's really a pretty fast-paced 3D action game, and it has a lot of RPG elements in it. There are weapon upgrades, magic, and character attributes that you can assign to your demon hunter, as well as there are 25 big, fully destructible levels in this game. It's actually really fun to knock an enemy back and slam them through a wall. Now, gamers out there looking for a challenge should definitely check out this game because every level has to be purified within a certain amount of time, and it can be pretty hard to do, but very satisfying to complete a level. I really like the visual style of this game, but even more so, the music is really haunting. This is a beautiful and really interesting and unusual game for the original Xbox. Next up is a pretty interesting twin-stick shooter called Xyanide for the original Xbox, and I don't think this version came out on any other systems, but it's surprisingly great. In this game, you are a small ship that is taking on this futuristic witch that has the ability to create worlds that you battle within. It's a pretty nutty concept, but actually the story and the cutscenes in this game are pretty awesome. Similar to games like Robotron or Geometry Wars, one stick controls your movement and the other controls your fire. The game has 6 huge levels to battle through. There's over 20 bonus items and ship enhancements to apply. There's over 100 different enemy waves, and there's also mid and end level bosses to encounter. Now, as if that wasn't enough, the game also allows you to choose your path, kind of like Wing Commander did back in the day. So there's a lot to discover in this game. It's surprisingly packed. Ah yes, I'm a big fan of Star Wars, and surprisingly, Republic Commando on the original Xbox is a great Star Wars game. You play as a leader of an elite squad of Republic Commandos in this tactical game, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of SOCOM. So even though this game looks like a typical first-person shooter, it's actually very strategic and very tactical. You as a leader are controlling your squad. You're telling them where to go, who to attack in these 15 different levels and against a bunch of different aliens. This game has great graphics. It has all the classic Star Wars sounds and voice recordings. It's just a dream for Star Wars fans, and it also supported multiplayer. So a lot of people love this game. If you're a big Star Wars fan, you should definitely give Republic Commando a try.
Police station or...
Oh, Fred, I think we're moving a little fast.
Relax, baby. Ted would have wanted it this way.
I watched him die.
Yeah, like 3 hours ago. Don't live in the past, Judy. It's time to move on.
Oh, Ted. Fred, listen.
Stubbs the Zombie is the kind of game that I think a lot of gamers skipped when it was first released because it kind of looks like a budget title, and in many ways it is, but you know, it's also a hidden gem because it's surprisingly fun, and I don't know, man, I have laughed out loud playing this game. In this game, you play as Stubbs, and yes, you are a zombie, and it's really fun because you get to eat brains, you get to possess the living, you build a zombie horde as you move through levels, and you use your own body as a weapon. The levels that you play through this game are also pretty interesting as well. It's a futuristic 1959. So there's ray guns in this, there's also hover cars, there's all sorts of really weird technology. It's actually pretty fun. And like any good game, there's a dance-off.
I told you I would dance in your grave, and I meant it.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make her the cutest that I've ever seen.
Also of note is the really excellent soundtrack in this game. Basically, it's a bunch of really popular 1950s songs redone and covered by modern bands. It's truly excellent. Here's another game by Sega that a lot of people love, and it came out on the original Xbox. It's called Gunvalkyrie. Gunvalkyrie is a sci-fi shooter that is very similar to Otogi, but it has its own style and control mechanism. In the game, you shoot and slash your way through hordes of enemies, you upgrade your weapons and armor, and you can pull off some pretty cool special moves. Also, the story is pretty cool and inspired by anime, but the highlight has to be the graphics. This game just looks beautiful, and it's so polished. Now that said, one of the annoying things about this game, and it's kind of tough for people to get into, is the controls. Specifically, a lot of the dashes that you do are by pushing in on the thumbstick, not one of my favorite ways to control. However, if you can get past that and learn the controls, this game is surprisingly fun and really in-depth. Here's one of the biggest surprises on the original Xbox. It's a game called Arx Fatalis, and I love this game. This is an epic first-person role-playing game that's very similar to, I guess I would say Skyrim, or if you remember back in the day, Ultima Underworld. This is a love letter to that game. The story goes, the sun has burned out, and so all living creatures have moved underground. Now that includes goblins, the undead, demons, dragons, and humans, and they all try to get along. And just like in Skyrim, you fight in real time, and that includes bows and also swords. You also have magic. There's actually a really interesting and unique magic system in this game. You can play this game as a warrior or a mage, or you can be stealthy like a thief, or you can even go multi-class. You repair your own weapons and armor, you can create your own potions, you can create your own spells. There's just a ton of stuff to do in this game. Now the game isn't perfect, and basically there's two things you need to know. One, the controls are a little clunky in this game. It just kind of feels almost like a PC game that's been ported over to the Xbox. And the other thing is, this game can be pretty tough and unforgiving. There's no big arrow telling you where to go next. You're expected to pay attention when people talk to you and figure out what to do next, and take chances, take risks, and truly adventure. So if that sounds appealing to you, I highly recommend this game. Here's another classic from Sega, Panzer Dragoon Orta. This is a fantastic on-rails shooter. Now, if this game sounds familiar, it's because there were 3 previous games released on the Sega Saturn that a lot of people love, and myself included. Those were great games. Well, the Xbox got probably one of the best versions of that. This is all new for the Xbox. It looks beautiful. It plays wonderfully. This is a really, really neat game. Now, even though this game is an on-rail shooter and you can't really control where you're ultimately going to, this game gives you a lot of strategic options in how you take out the enemy. For instance, you can swing your view around when you're being attacked from all different sides. So you can look forward, back, left, or right. And there's multiple dragon forms, so you move into a different form depending on the enemy that's coming towards you. This game does a really great job making you feel like a total badass. And just look at some of those visuals. This has some of the best graphics of the original Xbox. This is a beautiful game. It really shows just what you could do with that console when given the resources. From Bethesda comes a first-person survival horror game called Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth. You play as a private investigator that is stuck in this creepy coastal town that is dealing with all sorts of weird stuff involving the cult, the great old ones. These are gods from the H.P. Lovecraft era, and it's a really weird and creepy game. Now the challenge with this game is trying to keep your sanity while uncovering all this really weird stuff. And it results in hallucinations, panic attacks, you get vertigo, paranoia, and a lot more. To keep yourself alive, you'll have access to all the traditional weapons of a first-person shooter like guns and knives and things like that. But you'll also have access to really weird and powerful ancient artifacts, alien technology, and a lot more. If you're a fan of Eternal Darkness on the GameCube, I would say definitely check this out. It's got a very similar vibe. And also too, it's worth noting that these types of games don't come along very often on consoles. So it's a pretty cool and unique game. And as far as I know, it's only available on the Xbox and PC. Here's a game that if you were just to look at the cover, you would think, oh, this is like a really bad budget title. But surprisingly, Yager is a total hidden gem.
Good morning, Sarah. Reporting for duty at the shooting gallery range.
Target practice commencement.
This game is basically a futuristic action air combat game, and it feels very similar to games like maybe Freelancer or Wing Commander. You control your futuristic ship in either the first or third person view, and in the game you can switch between flying via hover or jet mode, so there's actually some variety in how your ship controls. And they mix this up in missions by giving you dogfighting missions, you'll do ground attacks, and a lot more, and there are 22 large levels in this game. In addition to the really solid air combat in this game, you may have noticed that the graphics are fantastic. There's a bunch of variety in the level design. For instance, you'll go into the mountains, you'll go into canyons, there's a bunch of water levels, there's just a ton of variety, and this game just looks and plays fantastic. Now you may be asking yourself, wait, what is a BioWare role-playing game doing on a Hidden Gems video? Well, you know what? I think Jade Empire is a forgotten role-playing game and deserves a second look. See, the problem is that this game came on the heels of one of the greatest BioWare role-playing games of all time. It was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I love that game. And when Jade Empire first came out, it was a little bit of a letdown. And myself included, I just didn't think it was that special. Well, going back and playing the game a second time, I've really grown to appreciate just how fantastic this game really is. This game has a really fun, real-time combat system that I've actually grown to appreciate over time. And it has a decent story. I would say overall the story is probably its weakest element, but it does have one of the trademarks of BioWare games that I love the most, and that is choice. This game allows you to have moral choices throughout it and affect the ending, which can be very satisfying and a true role-playing experience.
The Jade Empire is not the place I once thought it was. What Master Li has done is unforgivable. We have to set things right and undo the evil he has put in motion.
So if you're collecting for the Xbox and you're looking for a really good, well-made RPG, definitely do not pass by Jade Empire. I think it's really fun. So that's a quick look at some of the hidden gems for the original Xbox that I think are worth collecting. I like those games a lot, if you can't tell. But you know what? There are a bunch more that are worth collecting if you're into that console. And so I'm going to do a little bit of honorable mentions here at the end of the video. And you know, if I forgot a game or two, please let me know. Post a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. As always, I want to thank you for watching my channel, and thanks for subscribing. Take care.